The art of intimidation is a powerful tactic in the NFL, where a reputation for being feared can get in the heads of opponents, throwing them off their game. Football is not just about physicality. It's a psychological battle where quarterbacks intimidate defenses with arm strength and precision, while middle linebackers deliver crushing blows to running backs and wide receivers. Defensive players are the first that come to mind when you think of intimidation, but it's not exclusive to them. Lightning-quick runners, stonewall offensive linemen, and deep-threat wide receivers have all struck fear into their opponents throughout the years. Today, we're counting down the 12 scariest players in NFL history. Let's start off with Ray Nitsche, one of the original NFL enforcers. Nitsche played for the Green Bay Packers during their dynasty years in the 1960s, and he wasn't just tough, he was smart. At 6'3", 235 pounds, he might not have been the biggest guy on the field, but he sure played like it. Nitsche was a key piece of the Packers' defense that won 5 NFL championships, including the first 2 Super Bowls. He had 25 career interceptions, showing he had the instincts to back up his brutal hits. Nitsche's career was built on delivering bone-crushing tackles, and his scowl alone could send shivers down a quarterback's spine. In an era where football was all about toughness, Nitsche set the gold standard for linebackers. Now let's talk about Brian Dawkins. You probably know Dawkins for his time with the Eagles, where he earned 9 Pro Bowl selections and was named first-team All-Pro 4 times. But beyond the accolades, what really set Dawkins apart was the sheer ferocity he brought to the field. Standing at 6 foot, 210 pounds, Dawkins made a name for himself by delivering some of the most devastating hits ever seen from a safety. Take his infamous hit on Alge Crumpler in the 2004 NFC Championship game. Crumpler was a big guy, but Dawkins laid him out in a way that set the tone for the Eagles' defense all game long. In his career, Dawkins forced 36 fumbles, intercepted 37 passes, and returned 4 of those picks for touchdowns. He was a safety with the physicality of a linebacker and the ball-hawking skills of a cornerback. Opposing receivers had to think twice before going over the middle, because if they did, they'd likely find themselves picking grass out of their helmets, thanks to Dawkins. Barry Sanders is a unique entry here because he wasn't known for punishing defenders. Instead, he made them look silly. Standing just 5'6" and weighing 200 pounds, Sanders defied the traditional mode of an intimidating player, but his combination of agility, vision, and explosiveness made him one of the most feared running backs in NFL history. During his career with the Detroit Lions, Sanders rushed for 15,259 yards, 4th of all time, and scored 99 rushing touchdowns. But it wasn't just his stats, it was how he did it. Defenders would close in on him, only to find themselves grasping at air as Sanders made one of his trademark cuts, leaving them in the dust. He averaged 5 yards per carry for his career, an insane figure for a back who often had no blocking help. Sanders was the definition of a home run threat, capable of taking it to the house from anywhere on the field. At 6'3" and 225 pounds, Kam Chancellor was a safety who hit like a linebacker, a key member of the Legion of Boom, the Seattle Seahawks' legendary defense in the early 2010s. Chancellor was feared for his ability to deliver punishing hits. One of his most memorable came in 2012 when he flattened 49ers tight end Vernon Davis, who himself stood 6'3" and weighed 250 pounds, in a hit so brutal that it became the stuff of NFL legend. Chancellor didn't just rely on brute force though. He had 12 interceptions and 2 defensive touchdowns in his career, proving he was more than just a hammer. It was his physicality that made his opponents wary. Receivers crossing the middle of the field when Chancellor was in coverage knew they were in for a world of hurt. His presence made his Seattle secondary one of the most feared in modern NFL history. When you talk about defensive dominance, you have to bring up Reggie White. Also known as the Minister of Defense, White was an absolute terror in the defensive line for both Philadelphia Eagles and Green Bay Packers. Standing at 6'5", 291 pounds, White had the rare combination of size, speed, and technique. His signature hump move, where he'd lose a side 300-pound offensive lineman with one arm, became legendary. White ranks second all-time in career sacks with 198, trailing only Bruce Smith. His ability to collapse the pocket and disrupt an offense was unparalleled, and he was named NFL Defensive Player of the Year twice. During his career, he forced 33 fumbles and scored 2 defensive touchdowns. His relentless pursuit of the quarterback and his ability to dominate the line of scrimmage made him one of the scariest players to ever lace up. Ed Reed was the kind of safety who made quarterbacks hesitate. With 54 career interceptions, the 7th all-time, Reed had an uncanny ability to read offenses and bait quarterbacks into making mistakes. He led the NFL in interceptions 3 times and returned 7 of them for touchdowns, showing just how dangerous he was once he got the ball in his hands. What made Reed even more intimidating was that he wasn't just a ball hawk. He could hit too. Reed wasn't afraid to lower his shoulder and make a receiver pay for catching a pass in his territory. Quarterbacks knew they couldn't afford to lose track of Reed, as one bad decision could lead to a pick six or a highlight reel hit that changed the momentum of the game. Ray Lewis is one of those guys who made you nervous just watching him. At 6'1" and 250 pounds, Lewis was the heart and soul of the Baltimore Ravens defense for 17 seasons. He led the Ravens to 2 Super Bowl titles and was named Super Bowl MVP in 2001. Lewis racked up 2,081 tackles during his career, making him one of the most prolific tacklers of all time. But it wasn't just the numbers. Lewis was known for his intensity, both in the way he played and the way he led his team. His hits were punishing, his reads were near perfect, and his passion for the game was unmatched. One of his most iconic moments came when he knocked Cincinnati Bengals wide receiver Chad Ochocinco's helmet clean off with a brutal hit. That play became the stuff of legends, encapsulating just how terrifying Lewis could be. Randy Moss didn't need to hit people to intimidate him. His speed and athleticism were enough. At 6'4", Moss could jump over almost any defense, and with a 40-yard dash time in 4.3 second range, there wasn't a defensive back alive who could keep up with him on a deep route. Moss finished his career with 15,292 receiving yards and 156 touchdowns, but it was the way he could turn a game on its head that really made him special. Defenders knew that if the quarterback launched a deep ball to Moss, there was almost nothing they could do to stop him. He made the term "getting Moss" the household phrase because it happened so often. Defenders would leave for the ball, only to have Moss snatch it away like it was his birthright. When it comes to sheer physical intimidation, Dick Butkus is right at the top. The Chicago Bears linebacker was 6'3" and 245 pounds of raw, unfiltered aggression. He played with an edge that few could match, and his hits were brutal. Butkus recorded 1,020 tackles in his career and added 22 interceptions, proving he wasn't just a one-dimensional enforcer. Butkus' reputation was built on fear, his scowl, his rugged appearance, and the way he seemed to play with a personal vendetta against anyone who dared cross him made him one of the most feared players in NFL history. His intensity set the tone for the Bears' defense, and offensive players knew they were in for a world of pain if they found themselves in Butkus' sights. Despite being undersized at 6'1" and 220 pounds for a defensive tackle, Aaron Donald had become the most dominant defensive player in modern NFL. Donald's relentless motor and ability to beat double and even triple teams had made him a 3-time NFL Defensive Player of the Year and one of the most feared players in the league. Donald had racked up 105 sacks so far in his career and consistently leads the league in quarterback pressures. Offensive coordinators have to design entire game plans around keeping Donald at bay, and even that, it rarely works. His ability to destroy plays single-handedly makes him a nightmare for quarterbacks and offensive linemen alike. Bruce Smith is the NFL's all-time leader in sacks, with 200 to his name, playing most of his career with the Buffalo Bills. Smith was the ultimate pass-rushing machine, standing 6'4" and weighing 262 pounds. Smith had the strength of a defensive tackle combined with the agility of a linebacker, making him almost impossible to block. Smith wasn't just about sacking the quarterback though, he wanted to make them hurt. His relentless pursuit and ability to blow past blockers made him a constant threat. In addition to his sacks, Smith forced 43 tumbles and racked up 1,224 tackles, cementing his legacy as one of the most feared players in NFL history. Topping the list is none other than Lawrence Taylor, the man who revolutionized the outside linebacker position. Taylor played for the New York Giants from 1981 to 1993 and was a 9-time All-Pro and 2-time Super Bowl champion. His 132.6 career sacks barely scratched the surface of the impact on the game. Taylor's speed, strength, and aggression were unmatched. He forced offensive coordinators to rethink how they protected the quarterbacks because LT would wreak havoc if given the smallest opportunity. Taylor's ability to get to the quarterback helped redefine how the position was played, and his ferocious style of play made him the most feared player of this era, and perhaps of all time. So there you have it, the 12 scariest players in NFL history. But this list barely scratches the surface of the terror these players brought to the field. Who do you think we missed? Let us know in the comments. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell for more NFL content.